Thank you very much. That beats a Marmite sandwich any day. Thank you. What a great lunch, and so nice to see so many of you, meet so many of you, and just be aware of all these really stimulating business conversations that's happening in this great room. I actually arrived really early today, which was my treat to be treated to the tour of the building. So impressive. So it really is an enormous privilege to be speaking to you here today in such an illustrious gathering, speaking with Colin, with Rotha earlier. I am totally in awe to the amount of business talent that's sitting in this room. I do genuinely feel very underqualified. I don't have a raft of qualifications. My early CV is distinctly bare, if I'm honest. I don't even have O-level maths, for those of you old enough to remember such things. When it comes to qualifications, I didn't go to university. I'm not a graduate. I don't suppose many of you guys would give me so much as a job interview these days if you looked at my CV. I do now have an honorary doctorate, and I have built up and sold a successful global business, so that kind of makes up. But as a bit of business background, and that's really what we're here to focus on today, is business. My father was an admiral in the Navy, and in fact, he came from an engineering division, and he would so love to come here. Believe me, I'm coming back with him. He used to run the dockyard down in Portsmouth, so I grew up, a large part of my life was spent looking at great ships being built. Sadly, not so much now. And because he came from engineering, those of you who are familiar with the Navy and the hierarchy of it, the engineers are seen very much as the lower class. They definitely would have been on the third deck of the Titanic. And so I suppose when people say to me, how come you are so determined and so steely sometimes, where does that come from? And I think I probably have to look inside to my genetics and to my DNA and thank my dear old dad. He literally can't sit still, even in retirement, and that's something that I have as a habit too. So having sold businesses, built them, sold them, of course, I'm now on the next round, which is hugely fun and hugely exciting. All of you who are involved or have been involved with startups will know that real adrenaline buzz that it gives you. But working back on the clock, I genuinely, when I started out in life, didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was at a real crossroads when I left school at 16. I went to college, to London. I had very long hair, and that was really my entry into business because I became a house model for a little known then house company, a beauty company called Molton Brown, which went on to become the global brand it is today. And I was asked to be their house model, selling hair curlers. So that's what I did. And one day, they were short of staff, so they had a gap in the press office at lunchtime, and the phone rang, and I picked it up to a journalist asking questions down the phone. And for me, it was one of those moments you have when the penny drops, and I realized that I wanted to be the person at the other end of the phone asking the questions. So I managed to wheedle a job at a glossy magazine as a junior in the beauty department. And that's where I had my first taste of mentoring, and this is actually why I'm now a passionate mentor. I work a lot with the Prince's Trust, and we heard earlier from Rotha talking about the importance of mentoring. Had it not been for those editors who encouraged me to write, who would sit down and literally sharpen their pencils and go through and score out what I'd done and explain how to do it and coach me, that gave me the ability to again go on and move away from writing shorter features for magazines to writing books. That's how I started writing health and beauty books about the things that I became passionate about. And that then led into a career with television. My good old friend Eamon Holmes, I'm sure many of you will know, local boy, done so well. He and I worked together for a long time at GMTV. I worked with Richard and Judy at This Morning, doing a lot of daytime television programming. And it was around that time that I was approached by my good friend who was a business marketeer, who said, look, you've got this experience and this profile. Together, we can create something in the beauty world that will make a bit of a difference. So that's how we started, and we went from zero, literally, to the biggest independent beauty brand in the UK. And as was mentioned, we sold it to Avon back in 2010. It still is called the Liz Earle Beauty Range. I'm still working as a consultant with the brand. I love it. It's my 6th child. And I was so thrilled to see it on the plane over today. And in fact, I have a real confession to make. I'm sorry, we've got 2 lovely cabin crew here. I hope they don't watch me do this, but I vandalized their in-flight magazine because I found this that says Liz Earle, and it says, the Ultimate Radiant Travel Collection, the ultimate skincare secrets. We've always adored Liz Earle simply because of how truly wonderful her products are. And then it goes on to say, you must try this. And the reason I pulled that out is not just to blow my own trumpet, it was to say that actually creating tangible things that other people love and want to evangelize for you is such a powerful thing in business, and it's what gets me out of bed every morning. So it certainly got me out of bed very early this morning, and it was great to read it on the plane. So my career path was not at all conventional, but I think it very much represents so much of the entrepreneurial spirit that we have in business today. So what I would say today to so many of you developing and nurturing talent is look at all different types of people coming within your team. Especially, I know the focus today is on female talent and women within the team. And many of those female people may not have conventional CVs or conventional experience. They may have entrepreneurial experience, they may have other facets in their life, such as family life, to cope with. So don't judge a book by its cover. And for me, somebody who's written over 35 books now, it's not about the cover, obviously, it's about the content. And content is a word that we've been talking about at lunch today. It's something that we hear more and more of. Content is a real buzzword, whether we're talking about creation of content for websites, content of CSR policies, content of our customer engagement. It's how do we create that great content? And of course, we know we create it through ourselves and through our teams and whoever is in our team. Now, I've been asked to talk today specifically about women in the workplace and how we can help women overcome the obstacles that could then shatter this so-called glass ceiling. So that's my focus today. Not that I'm a great fan of men. I'm married to one. These days we do have a choice. And 3 of my 5 children are also male. So I am most definitely not anti-male. But I am passionately pro-female when it comes to the workplace. I built several highly successful and more importantly, perhaps highly profitable businesses with predominantly female employees at all levels, from CFOs to global heads of legal affairs, marketing to shop floor. Now, I work mostly in the beauty industry, and it's easier to say that. That's around 90% female, if you look at the figures. I also work in food and farming, which is around 90% male, so more of a challenge. And also in TV and publishing, which I guess is probably split pretty much 50-50 down the middle. But the experience I have of building the best-selling beauty brand, currently ranked #1 in Boots and in #1 in John Lewis, which has now well over 600 employees, 90% of whom are still female. There is something I found about the female psyche that brings an inner strength to business. I always joke that if you want something done well, you ask a woman. And if you want something done both well and quickly, you ask a busy woman. And there really is something in that, I found, that juggling business pressures with family life. Multitasking is the new norm for all of us. And I'm sorry, guys, but research does say that the female brain is more agile, more able to multitask and to be strategically nimble. And I think those are key assets that we need in business today, with everything moving so fast we can barely blink. I mean, board level, I work at, obviously, most of my waking days, but I also have the responsibility of bringing up 5 hopefully joyful, well-mannered children. I still have to feed my husband, run the family diary, social life, finances, and it's my fault if there's no milk in the fridge. So that is the extent and breadth to which many women, I'm not alone here, are operating every day. And I have genuinely found the businesswomen I surround myself with to be quicker thinking and faster on their feet than some of their male counterparts. I think also tapping into the often quoted female attributes of caring homemaker is also a genuine business asset. You know, somebody who cares about what her family is eating for supper is also likely to extend a very valuable and caring concern for how her office is running, how her team are performing. When my business partner and I started the Liz Earle Beauty Company back in 1995, we're going to be 20 years old next year, it was before the advent of the internet, before the advent of email. How did we survive? I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? We were both young mothers at the time, and so for us, we'd start our working day dropping the kids at school, working really hard through the day, stopping at 3 o'clock, going to do the school run, tea, bath, bed, story time, and then picking up the phone again and carrying on till the small hours of the morning. Neither of us felt that that was particularly unusual, we didn't challenge it, it just was the way it was. And that's how I still work today, and that's how still many of my team work today. I know with bigger organizations, structurally, it's more difficult. But I think there is a real sense here that with new technology around that can help us, it can help make those working days more of a reality. And flexible working is still something I really encourage with the women I work with, who will keep their phones on 24/7. Not to talk to me, but they want to talk to the kids and be accessible. But that also means that we can also tap in as business leaders to them. For me, flexible working is automatic. It's assumed, it's not even discussed. And I find that by giving women with families the opportunity to work in my businesses, while also acknowledging that they may need some time during the day, especially a conventional working day for their families, I've been paid back in time, in dedication, in commitment, far more than I could have imagined or actually written into any contract. It's also a really wonderful way to build loyalty and to retain our key members of staff, especially those so-called vomit people. Now, these are not people who you can't stand the sight of, quite the opposite. These are the ones that would make you feel physically ill if you received a text message right now to say that they were leaving you. So these are the ones that I really want to hang on to. And I don't have prescribed working hours for my time. I have an expectation of tasks to be done extremely well and gone beyond. That's the bottom line for me, not whether they're sitting at their desk at 5 to 5 or whether they're on their way to pick up their kids from school. I often have board meetings now over Skype. I'm sure all of us are tapping into new technology, and I'd much rather have a highly valued employee working from home and a virtual office using techniques such as Dropbox than just wasting hours struggling on a senseless commute. I think one of the problems in the past we've had of having flexible hours has been the lack of eye contact, and I've certainly found that with my team. But these rapidly changing technologies, and they're moving so fast, and I'm so delighted to hear that you have the benefit of this ultra-high-speed Atlantic cable giving you broadband speeds that for me in central London I can only drool over. It really is the way to connect with people and to extend particularly flexibility to perhaps women in your team. I'm now building new businesses that will work alongside the Earle Beauty Company, working in the world of well-being. I've just launched Earle Wellbeing with a publishing and filmmaking division, so we're very plugged into TV and what's happening with technology. But we don't have an office. It's probably way down on my wish list of things. The people are what's going to make this business a success. So we're all working virtually, and we have state-of-the-art communication and equipment for my team rather than a physical office with a desk in it. I wish I could say that was true of all my businesses. My husband and I, we also run an organic farm in the West Country. And technology is something more of a challenge when it comes to farmers and the farming community. I guess they're possibly the least technologically minded. And if you present them with any gadget smaller than a tractor, they are going to have trouble actually putting that into task. Getting them on email is frankly proving impossible, let alone asking them to Instagram the latest picture to build up the brand within the farming community. But I think we'll get there. I'm seriously going to encourage John Deere or somebody to go into smartphones. I think that's what we need. Nice yellow and green one. I'm occasionally asked to advise or consult on businesses, and there is obviously no magic formula. I wish there was, otherwise perhaps we wouldn't all be sat here today. So for me, above all else, it comes down to working with the people in the team and investing in the team that we have and looking for the right people, regardless of their gender, regardless of how they need to work to make your business and your team a success. One of the business leaders that I follow personally and admire is Angela Arendts, the newish boss at Apple. And she promotes 3 golden rules for business success. So perhaps this is a little takeout for today. Rule number 1, be better before cheaper. In other words, compete on points of difference and excellence of your benefits rather than on purely price. Be better before cheaper. Rule number 2, revenue before cost. So prioritize increasing sales, increasing revenue before reducing overheads and costs. And rule number 3, perhaps the most important rule of all, there are no other rules. So change everything you do to follow rule 1 and 2. Be better before cheaper and use revenue before cost. And that's something that I've been doing inadvertently, I think. for many years, trying to create things that have tangible value that other people will then sell for you. And just as we might be inspired by the female business leaders such as Angela, and you've also got people like Marissa Mayer, the new CEO at Yahoo. She's not even 40. I mean, come on. That is really annoying. Ginny Rometty, she's the first female chairman and CEO at IBM. And Irene Rosenfield, etc. at Kraft, who's doing an extraordinary job now, splitting the company and all sorts of new things over there in the States. And it was interesting, I was particularly keen to read the CBI research here, which highlighted there are so many good reasons for companies to increase gender diversity as a business boost, not just as a PC boost, but as actually bottom line profitability. And that feedback from the workplace as well as the academic research shows that a diverse staff make a better framework for critical decision making, as well as understanding our customers better. And that truly is the bottom line, isn't it, for building a business, understanding our customers better. At Liz Earle Beauty, when we have a meeting, we always have an empty chair. And the empty chair is for the customer. And she, because it usually is a she, sits in it. So whether it's a board meeting, whether it's a sales meeting, whether it's a PR meeting, everything we do, we'll say, so what do you think of that? So it's not losing sight of who our customer is. But it's not only the CBI, of course, who have highlighted the value of gender diversity. When we talk about hiring more women at a senior level, we inevitably have to talk about that elephant in the room, and that's family life. I did a bit of research and work for Microsoft recently, and they commissioned a study specifically into working mothers. And they found that the majority of bosses in the UK, 57%, so that's reasonably significant, think working mothers are not only good team players, they are better team players than women without kids. I guess for any of you with toddlers, you'll understand that negotiating with a child of that age is a big ask, and there are many skills that you can bring into your workplace environment from that. The working mums also themselves reported to say that their own time management and multitasking and organisational skills have all significantly improved since having children. And I can actually vouch for that myself. 2/3 of the bosses in the Microsoft poll said that working mums are vital to the UK workforce, with women bosses in particular praising their multitasking skills, while male bosses are more likely to highlight their team player attributes. So serious strong points here. And it does work both ways too. It's not just about running women ragged so they can no longer function and they're crawling around on the floor. Just over half the working mothers they asked in the survey said that the use of new technology, and here I come back to the technology I mentioned earlier, the new technology that we can all use in our day enables women to get an extra 60 minutes into the schedule. So if you start using things, they were particularly looking at things like Microsoft 365, which links businesses together and you can start to coordinate everything. Very, very fast, smart technology that can enable us all to work faster and smarter. So I would say that as our connectivity communications gets better, there's no better time to encourage this inclusiveness and this flexibility. It's not to be feared. In fact, it's actively to be sought after and encouraged. It's also highly topical this week. If any of you missed it, do take a look at YouTube at the amazing speech that Emma Watson gave at the UN. And that was to launch their campaign on gender diversity and opportunity for women. It's a campaign called He for She, and it's all about achieving greater equality between the sexes. So that's Emma Watson on YouTube. I'd just like to sum up by saying that I do genuinely believe that the role of more women at the highest levels of our boardrooms, whether they're mothers or not, will help promote the overarching objectives of the CBI, which is to ensure that all our businesses can compete and prosper for the real and genuine benefit of all of us. Thank you very much for having me today.